Downtown to O'Hare, it's 39 minutes. Inbound now 55 minutes O'Hare to downtown. It is quicker in the Express. Stevenson from the Veterans Memorial to DeSable Lakeshore Drive, it's 44 minutes. That's traffic. I'm Helamonte on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Another hot and humid day. High 91 under sunshine this afternoon. Warm and humid. 72 overnight, 75 right now. Next news at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, and that recall election in California, to recall gruesome Gavin Newsom, is just about 6 weeks away. And one of the candidates, and not without incident, to replace him is, of course, our friend in sound, our colleague, the sage of South Central. He is Larry Elder, host of the Larry Elder Show, and AM 560, The Answer, weekdays, 7 to 9 p.m. He's also the executive producer of the film Uncle Tom, An Oral History of the American Black Conservative, which is really good.
Yeah, I watched it with the whole family.
Yeah, and it's still on the streaming services, so pick it up. He's also a nominee, as we've mentioned a couple times now over the last couple of days, for the Radio Hall of Fame, and to vote Larry Elder into the Radio Hall of Fame, which is something you should do. Go to radiovote.com. And he's got this other undertaking. He's a candidate for governor of California. Larry, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Amy, thank you so much for having me. At the risk of sounding immodest, may I also add one little thing to my resume?
Please.
I also have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, corner of Hollywood and Vine. I'm not kidding you. They only have about maybe 10, 15 radio people in their entire history, and I was very flattered to be honored about six years ago. So now you can stand on the corner of Hollywood and Vine and watch people say in 27 different languages, who the blank is Larry Elder.
Congratulations. That's better than being homecoming queen.
Is that cornered?
I'm not sure about that. It depends on whether you're male or female. Oh, he went there.
Well, I mean, yeah, either way these days. So that is cordoned off by velvet ropes, has a 24/7 security guard, I presume. That's a Hollywood star.
Well, you know that they did that to I think it was Donald Trump's star. Someone plowed into
Defaced it.
So far, I just see gum and some spit, but it's still there.
All right. Well, put a little video camera there in case Gavin Newsom and some of his goons come to deface it. So I've heard you talk about the decision to make this run and the recall against Gavin Newsom, and
right.
And our colleague Dennis Prager encouraged you to do it, and you were initially reluctant, but you got over that. So what's the state of the campaign? What's your attitude coming into this very short campaign to be governor of California?
Well, it's a two-step deal. It's a very short ballot, and the first question is, do you want Gavin Newsom recalled? Unless 50% plus one voter says yes, the next question really is sort of irrelevant, and that is, who do you want to replace him? So enough voters have to vote to replace Gavin Newsom, and then whoever gets the greatest number of votes to replace him becomes the next governor. So you can conceivably win with maybe 20, 25%, even less plurality of the vote. And the reason for the recall is because of the way Gavin Newsom has arrogantly handled this coronavirus pandemic. And then you add to that the rising crime, the rising homelessness, and the ridiculous cost of living. That's why 2.2 million Californians, including maybe 25, 30% of independents and Democrats who just 2 years earlier voted for this man, voted to sign the petition to have this recall election, which takes place on September the 14th.
I mean, it is so dangerous in California. Your former Senator Barbara Boxer got assaulted and robbed at a park in Oakland.
Yeah, and her cell phone was taken. And the outgoing governor, Jerry Brown, a Democrat, even criticized the excessive spending of this particular governor, Gavin Newsom. What he's been doing basically is paying off people. He's giving another year for rent-free, of course, the $300 that you get for not working. And my friends who are running restaurants and small businesses tell me they cannot get employees to work because it's cheaper to stay home and sit around. We also have a huge crime problem because voters passed something called Proposition 46, 1947. Foolishly, the intent was good because a lot of people who are shoplifting are doing so to support their drug habit, and the idea is they'd be better off in rehab than going to jail. But the county sheriff recently told me that they've taken away the stick. If you're on the street and you're stealing in order to support your drug habit, what's your incentive to get rehab if you don't have the threat of going to jail? So that's been removed. It's now a misdemeanor. You can steal up to $950, not just every day, but at any given store, as long as you don't get caught. And if you get caught, you get a ticket. You don't go to jail. So it's ridiculous. And then, of course, we have this assault on the police, not just nationally, but statewide, the accusation that the police are engaging in systemic racism when study after study after study shows, if anything, the police are more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than a white suspect. And as a result, cops are human beings, and they are simply not engaging in what we call proactive policing. Much of policing, of course, is discretionary. So instead of getting out when you see bad guys arguably doing something, you just respond to radio calls. Bad guys know it, crime goes up, and the people that are most likely affected by it are black and brown people, the very people that the left claims they care about. And then you have this ridiculous cost of living. My dad came to California in 1945. He worked 2 jobs as a janitor cleaning toilets, but he was able to have a stay-at-home wife, my mother, and she stayed at home until the youngest of us was in middle school. And he managed to save his nickels and dimes and buy a house which is now worth $600,000. It's still in the family in South Central. No one could duplicate my father's path as an 8th grade dropout if he or she worked 3 jobs. The average price of a home in California is 150% more than the average price of a home in America. And because of the rules and regulations that have been jammed down the throats of the Californians by these environmental extremists that don't want building whatsoever, the average home in California literally costs 50% more than it would be but for the rules and regulations all foisted by these environmentalists. So for the first time in our state's history, there's been a net migration out of California. And it's not millionaires and billionaires, to quote Bernie Sanders. They don't mind paying 13.3% top marginal tax rate, the highest in the country. It's middle-class people making between $50,000 and $75,000 who can't get that first home. And finally, there's a magazine called CEO Magazine. It's been around 17 years. And CEOs are asked which of the 50 states is the best, which of the 50 states is the worst in which to do business, based upon taxes, based upon spending, based upon unfunded pension liabilities, the strength of the public sector unions, which is enormous here in California, and whether or not there's a business-friendly attitude. And for the 17 years of this magazine's existence, California has been rated the worst state in which to do business of all 50.
Yeah, Illinois is close, though.
Yeah,
we're trying to catch you. Here's the thing.
It's a pretty low bar.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that for people who haven't been through recall and or don't follow it closely, how the 2-question process on the ballot. So first you need the majority to say Newsom is gone, and then you pick who you want to replace him, and it's just a plurality vote. And so right now, I think you're leading the field, or right there. So if you get the first question right, then Larry Elder is poised to be the answer to the second question. And so getting people over that threshold, there's a range of issues. You just went through a bunch of them. Is it a referendum on the French Laundry and his handling of COVID, his imperiousness? Is it a referendum on crime? I mean, we see the numbers in terms of people who want more cops on the streets coming out of inner cities like Detroit at 8 and 9 to 1. It's same thing in Chicago, same thing in New York. So what is the referendum question you're trying to push to say, hey, Californians, when you think about whether or not to replace Gavin Newsom, answer this question: more cops, less cops, more freedom, less freedom with respect to COVID? What's the question?
Well, Dan, I think it's all of the above, and that's why I'm asking people to go to electelder.com and throw a little something in the tip jar. But you're absolutely right. The French Laundry was the microcosm. It showed you the arrogance of this man. He was sitting with the very medical experts that drafted the mandates that they were sitting there violating. They weren't wearing masks. They weren't engaging in social distancing. And this man has had his own children enjoying in-school private education as he abided by the teachers union, his largest funder, and they shut down education for an entire year. Already kids are backward here in California. 80% of the kids educated in public schools in California are black and brown. 75% of black boys cannot read at state levels of proficiency, and that was before they were locked out of school for a whole year. 50% of third graders in the state of California cannot read at state levels of proficiency. I went to an urban high school called Crenshaw High School. If you saw the movie Boys in the Hood, that was my high school. 2% can do math, 2% are math proficient. Now, there are 300,000 public school teachers in California. It is estimated that 5% of them are incompetent, just miseducating kids, not educating kids. That's 15,000 teachers. In any given year, the average year, 2.2 teachers are fired. Now, we wouldn't tolerate that with cops. I'm in Los Angeles. The LAPD is roughly 10,000 officers. Imagine 5% of officers bad cops, planting evidence, engaging in racial profiling, using excessive force. We wouldn't put up with 500 bad cops roaming the streets, but we're putting up with 15,000 bad teachers roaming the halls of our schools. It's outrageous, outrageous. And again, this man has his own kids enjoying in-person, in-school, private education.
Yeah, we had the same thing here. Pritzker got his family out 2 days before he shut down Illinois, and then shut down our sports, shut down travel sports while his daughter was still able to do her equestrian jumping. Yesterday, Governor Newsom is requiring state employees and healthcare workers to get vaccinated, vaccine mandate. How do you feel about that?
Well, he didn't require them to get vaccinated. He required those who did not get vaccinated to be tested, I think, once a week, and also to wear a mask while at work. Now, think about that. The whole point of getting vaccinated is you're allegedly protected against the coronavirus. Now, if people don't want to get vaccinated, you're requiring them to wear masks, to wear face masks, to protect the other people who don't want to get vaccinated, both of whom have assumed the risk. I mean, it's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with science. And once again, this guy has ignored science and put all these mandates, and we're just a step away, Amy, from him now mandating it for private business as he did during the coronavirus mandate. It's ridiculous. Everybody in the state of California who wants to get vaccinated can get vaccinated, and poor people can get vaccinated for free. So clearly people are making the decision not to do it. They're assuming the risk, and other people who've not been vaccinated have to assume the risk that there are going to be other people around them not vaccinated. Isn't that what freedom is all about? Thomas Jefferson warned us about trading freedom for public safety. And that's what they've done here.
Well, I mean, how much fun would it be to have a Governor Larry Elder?
Oh
my
I'd be
gosh.
so happy. Are
California will be in that. You think Texas Dems fled to D.C. I mean, there is going to be, that would be so much fun.
it'd be
Against the
beautiful.
public sector unions, the teachers union in particular, and these issues. Oh my goodness, California would be in the headlines every single day. What fun would that would be? And it's just a massive undertaking because it's a state of 40 million people. And, why don't you just want to make movies and play golf and just chill out?
Well, I'm born here. I'm from here. I have been talking about these issues now for 27 years. I am better known than any of the other Republican candidates other than Caitlyn Jenner. I'm on in every major market in California, from Sacramento down to San Diego, and I've been writing about these things for years, and I have some commonsensical ideas. People say, well, Larry, you don't have any experience. Well, Gavin Newsom has a boatload of experience. He was the mayor of San Francisco. He was 8 years lieutenant governor, 2 years right now. Look what we got. And there was a fellow some years ago who came out of Hollywood, and he ended up being a two-term California governor and a two-term president. But not too shabby. I'm not comparing myself to the great Ronald Reagan, but in terms of experience, so there you go.
Absolutely.
Again, electelder.com, electelder.com, because Gavin Newsom, by the way, has no spending limitations. I do. I can only spend about $9 million. It is estimated that he's going to throw about $50 million dollars against me, and so without people both in California and outside California helping me, and those who are millionaires and billionaires, they can contribute money to political action committees that support choice in school, that support the repeal of that Proposition 47 that I mentioned that allows people to steal up to $950 a day and just commit a misdemeanor. And if you can do that, we may be able to rival his guy's war chest and get him out of here. And when I become governor, I have a lot of power, even though I'll be dealing with a hostile legislature that's 2/3 Democrat. I have the ability to veto. I have a line item veto. There hasn't been a bill vetoed that's been overridden since the 70s for whatever reason. When they pass something stupid, and Arnold Schwarzenegger vetoed hundreds of bills, you go public and talk about how stupid the bill was, and all of a sudden people pick up the phone and call their state senator and state assembly person and say, what the hell were you thinking? And it doesn't get overridden. And finally, I can declare a public emergency. I can declare a public emergency on housing because of the shortage. I can declare a public emergency because of homelessness and because of the incompetent teachers. There's a lot of stuff I can do. I'll see them in court, of course. They'll sue me no matter what I do, but Dan and Amy, hold my beer.
Okay. All right. I'm going to electelder.com to make a donation. Make sure Prager writes a big check. He got you into this. So don't let him off the hook. Larry Elder, host of The Larry Elder Show on AM 560, weekdays 7 to 9 p.m., executive producer of Uncle Tom, an oral history of the American Black Conservative.